Kate Mila Falcha, welcome to Irish Granny Tarot. We're on video number 4 of our book Encounters. Experiences with Non-Human Intelligences, D.W. Pasulka, the author. And I mentioned that we also have done her book American Cosmic in the past. And she talks quite a bit about Jacques Vallée. This is one of his many books, Passage to Magonia. Interesting nexus between mythology, lore, indigenous knowledge, and UFOs. Okay, so let's just plow ahead here. I may have a quotation. Okay. This is from Chapter 6, Gnosis, by Kawan Yamada. The practice of Zen is forgetting the self in the act of uniting with something. Anything, it does not matter what, for the act of forgetting the self is the act of enlightenment. I thought that was very interesting. So, the author talks about an event January 9th, 1999 in Las Vegas. She met with Jacques Vallée, who was meeting with scientists to discuss, potential day after contact scenarios. They agree that we're cohabiting with non-human entities that control our destiny. They don't think we need to discuss what might happen potentially after some mythical contact scenario from the future. They believe it's happened long ago. Some cultures believe this contact has already happened, and even some in the U.S. military agree with this. Tyler, the anonymous guy in her book, believes that he's in contact with non-human intelligences, entities, related to the UFO phenomenon. Stick around, stay tuned for my guest next week. Vallée says that the military knows all about this and they are in contact with these entities, whatever they may be. Many believe this will soon be revealed to the public, and it's being controlled by intermediaries. And I'm not entirely sure what she meant by that, like maybe intermediaries between the entities and the governments. Vallée has been told to sit back and enjoy the show. So, we have known all along is the premise of this book. And this next section is called a spontaneous esotericism. Knowledge is held by a few in esoteric knowledge. It's held by a few that are initiated or enlightened. There are 3 main esoteric traditions. The enchanted tradition, which is ancient roots about receiving magical knowledge, and this has actually been repopularized in early modern times. I'm thinking Madame Blavatsky, that kind of thing. The occult traditions, alternatives to traditional religion and rational science, this is post-enlightenment, and then an inner universal spiritual dimension of religion, maybe not as much officially acknowledged. Esotericism is a tradition for transmission of special knowledge, and the example that she puts forward is kind of cracked me up as Jedi. That would be an example. The object that's being transmitted is gnosis, which is knowledge, and it comes from roots meaning experience. Esoteric knowledge is spiritual, it's hidden from most people, it's transmitted only to the initiated. It's an elite knowledge preserved for those smart enough or privileged enough to receive it, and it just depends on who's keeping the knowledge quiet that determines who gets to find out about it. Are UFO encounters received knowledge? Jose, who we talked about in the military kid who went to school, sees his as spectral gifts, as messages, his encounters. He does not believe that these are physical beings in space vehicles from another planet. He believes they're numinous. Numinous means holy. Spiritual encounters. Spontaneous esotericism comes from spiritual practice. Vallée and Dr. Hynek were Rosicrucians, which I should do a video on Rosicrucians, with no institutional affiliation. They did not separate UFO study from esoteric practice. They united them in their minds. In his San Francisco apartment, which the author went to and met him, Vallée has an inner sanctum with stained glass like a Rosicrucian center or the Chartres Cathedral. It's just this beautiful room within a room that has stained glass windows, rosettes and stuff. It's really beautiful. Rosicrucians claim Egyptian roots. They call themselves the Invisible College. We talked about them because of the Catholic Church's aggression against them and against the pursuit of esoteric knowledge. Hynek took the name for his group, the Invisible College, that's the modern version, the scientists. He took them that name from the Rosicrucians, and Hynek belongs to this group. Let's see here. Jacques Vallée wrote, "They were occultists because their innermost thoughts had to be kept hidden from those who would have persecuted them, but theirs was the opposite of an occult endeavor. It aimed at greater light, openness, and freedom." Now, keep in mind that the word occult doesn't mean what a lot of people think. Occult to them is evil or witchcraft, and I'm not saying that witchcraft is evil. I'm saying this is in the minds of uninformed people. The word occult is scary, evil, whatever. The word occult comes from the Latin and it means hidden. It just means stuff that's kept quiet because it's threatened if it's well known. Let's see, where was I? Vallée has a library of ancient books. He has one whole wall of books about angels and another whole wall about fallen angels. And he has books that used to belong to Dr. Hynek with his writing in the margins. Make sure I didn't. Vallée recommended a book written by nuns, recommended to the author a book written by nuns called A History of Satan from the 1800s. And he said these nuns had a sense of humor. The last page is number 666. The author expected to discuss UFOs. She didn't expect to come to Vallée's apartment to talk about angels and fallen angels. UFO study is as occulted as science and esoteric belief used to be. The Liber Mundi of Rosicrucianism, this is the Book of the World, is available to anyone who wants to get it from the Rosicrucians. They still advertise in the back of magazines, and it includes UFOs as an esotericism. Hynek's ufology, a study of UFOs, has been called esotericism, an evolutionary model of spiritual development. In other words, it's just the next step up from angels and saints, Mary and Lourdes. This is the next step. In the past, it was assumed that humans in the 20th century would cultivate this kind of knowledge through meditation, but I guess we kind of fell short. Hynek references collaborative work on spiritual planes with etheric beings to directly influence history and cultural development. In other words, Hynek is saying that they've been in contact with people all through history to evolve us in our knowledge. And according to Rudolf Steiner, the practice of esotericism would prepare one for recognizing angelic presences. So these cosmic entities are now imparting a language that will bridge science and spirituality. Is that the role of UFOs and ETs? Hynek thought that some UFOs were benevolent space beings that were helping us and maybe even future us returning with advanced technology to help ourselves. Vallée believed that some occult groups were using precognition for specific agenda. He saw it as a gift of a glimpse of the future. A sincere inquiry into the nature of reality would be spiritual and scientific. Search for spiritual and scientific truths. Vallée said there is another level of consciousness and an undiscovered structure of reality, a meta-reality. He's seeking this and sometimes finds it while meditating under the night sky. So the next issue here in the book is called Reincarnation or Epigenetic Intervention, ? The Marines taught Jose to use precognition for survival. I think this is a really interesting little tidbit. He says that he just connected to an organic network. They taught him to use his senses more acutely and to be aware of his surroundings more acutely than ordinary people. He says he was connecting to this organic network. Non-local consciousness. What are we going to call it? Science can't do this in a laboratory. They have to take it into the field. They have to study it in real time. Epigenetics is altering gene expression but not changing the DNA. So it's implicated in cancer and in autoimmune disorders. It's when one expression of the gene dominates rather than the other. And because of epigenetics, trauma can be passed on. Jose thinks that UFO experiences impact the epigenome. They're actually changing people's DNA. Altering the expression, not necessarily removing or adding, but altering the expression. Vallée thinks the symbolic nature of UFOs has a greater effect on society than in any other aspect of UFOs. That there's some message in their actual physicality that we read on a subconscious, archetypical level. They're a social technology. The physical reality of a UFO triggers images, and the witnesses report what they've seen, and this creates a social effect. Jose looks at this like epigenetics. Reincarnation is epigenetics. Genes are activated by our biological predecessors, and their experiences assist with age-old cosmic battles of good and evil. And in the margin I wrote, So let's read that again and see if it makes any more sense the second time around. Reincarnation is epigenetics. Genes are activated by our biological predecessors' experiences. Okay. To assist in the age-old cosmic battle of good and evil. Okay, I think I didn't put the emphasis in the right place. So what our ancestors have experienced is stored in our genes, is passed along. So that knowledge is carried with us from physical body to physical body. Not exactly the same as reincarnating the soul. Epigenetics is about cosmic intelligence. In other words, within our biological heritage, information is passed through the generations that lets us survive long enough to evolve a spiritual body. Now that's interesting. Traditions of philosophy and religion throughout time are social memes that tie us to an organic network, so that they are simply repeating triggers that we're able to interpret because of the knowledge we carry in our genetics. This is subconscious. This is not something that we're thinking about and recognize that we're doing. I think it comes out in things like those stupid movies about comic book characters. All that superhero stuff, that resonates for a lot of people because of epigenetics. That's my theory. But anyway, there are epigenetic prescriptions to sequence our junk DNA and guide us to the omega point. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. Memes are social programs. They're recognizable images. So they're things that you look at and they trigger a whole set of ideas, feelings, understandings. UFO. You look at a picture of a UFO and there's a whole gigantic narrative that we all have at least part of when we see a UFO picture. St. Michael would be a perfect example. You see a picture of St. Michael and it actually describes a particular experience that millions of people over time have had. This battle between good and evil. There's a message held in the image. So the omega point, that's a term that was adopted by Desjardins. It's where the humans break off from Homo sapiens and merge with technology. This is not my favorite thing to think about, so let's just talk about it. This is the next step they're predicting in this book. This is the next step in human evolution. We'll merge physiology and spiritual states. It's kind of like a UFO and St. Michael together. They're symbols of this shift. This takes a little bit of digesting. This is like the third time I've read this, and I'm still... Anyway, our most important resource to deal with this is mental health. And I wrote a little interesting question that came into my mind, which probably we should read cards on soon. MAGA cult-like situations, do those intentionally make people crazy to negatively affect their mental health so that they can't embrace these esoteric epigenetic changes? Is that what's going on here? Mental health is the balance between you and epigenetic viability. So how do I put that into simple terms? If you're not stable up here, the process of evolution can't move forward. You need frameworks to handle the experiences of our time. You have to be able to handle what you see and hear going on and how the changes affect us all. Some people can handle it, and some people put on a red hat. The battlefield is physical and mental and virtual. It impacts your health physically and mentally. Then this next sentence, I put all kinds of question marks in the margin. I don't remember what the sentence is, so this should be interesting. Artificial intelligence and machine learning can reframe mental health. I didn't understand what they meant by that, but store that away in your genes. We'll see. The author says that this refers to social media and ubiquitous telephones, and says that this is bad. These are bad experiences. People are being inundated with, and I guess it is machines and artificial intelligence when you think about it. They reframe your mental health. They affect your brain. They are detrimental. The way we use them right now, they have the potential for good, but they're being used in an inappropriate way. Vallée warned of this in the past, before they were even invented. He said human behaviors are what technology advertises products and feed off of. And we are the product, basically. That's what they've turned us into, the product. What does it mean to live in a world where the behavior of an entire population can be accurately mapped from minute to minute, Vallée asked. A world where whole new social, political, or religious memes can be injected into the culture to mold it into new forms. People used to be up in arms when local authorities put fluoride into the water supply to strengthen kids' teeth. But very few object to intelligence agencies experimenting with massive social engineering intrusions into the flow of ideas on social networks. I would argue that people just don't even recognize it. Technology has just consumed human behavior. Apps are used as weapons, and they're everywhere. They're Trojan horses. They cause damage to the environment and to cognitive abilities. This is food for thought. I happen to actually agree with this, but not everybody will. And there are arguments to be made in favor of technology. I don't think it's necessarily an argument against all technology per se, but how it's being used. Most valuable resource that we have is data, and the human mind is how data is accessed. They do it with bots and social engineering and algorithms. And the mind is externalized and is the battlefield. It's externalized because they're tracking everything that you're thinking about and doing. They can follow that along. Jose teaches teens how to unplug, to work out, to be outdoors, to use biofeedback to handle emotions. He shows how bad actors use the data that we provide to benefit financially. They're targeting the vulnerable. He teaches them to hook into the organic network. People who were born after the internet don't even know about life lived unplugged. They can't even imagine. He tries to wake them up to how their bodies react to technology. The body is a tethering device, and it starts with physical and dietary training. And to unplug and then to concentrate on your mental and physical well-being will help lead to enlightenment. Jose says, and that's why, McDonald's, junk food, and junk, mindless entertainment, it just compounds each other. Jose says the body and the mind are all a site of resistance to resist digitized weapons. This is a whole different viewpoint of technology that you don't hear a lot of people expressing. Physical and monastic protocols, so we're talking fasting, exercise, silent walking, meditation, that these access the network with insight and information, and they can interface with it. And what this is, another term for this is being a mystic. The author believes that those who ask her how to access UFO data are looking for how to reverse engineer UFOs to create the next new technology. She's talking about military and defense contractors, engineers, the people working for universities and governments and the military and intelligence agencies get in touch with her a lot, apparently. But data's not enough. They need a human interface to interface with the phenomenon. And humans are the database, especially mystics, who, by the way, are very rare, she says. Chapter 7, Moon Girl. And then underneath it says reconnaissance. Connaissance comes from the French to understand, to know. On the Concorde jet, a woman described the overview effect. We no longer have the SST, but she saw the curvature of the earth and said it was surreal. This woman, Simone, believes that we're at an apocalypse, which means revelation, a beginning and an end. AI can help the evolution of Homo sapiens to the next iteration by extending our consciousness. She believes that alien intelligence of UFOs is involved in this, that we're in a soup of a network, a non-local field that we just don't seem to have the brain power to connect with, and we can use AI to do that connecting. Let's see, where am I? David Bowie said digital technology is an alien life form, a non-human super intelligence. AI is the ET out of space and time. It's not from another galaxy. And it's currently revealing itself to us. So they're equating AI with this ET phenomenon. I don't know what to make of that. Moon Girl in a tech bros world. Simone worked with pioneers of the internet in the 1990s. She helped commercialize technology that was developed by DARPA, which is the research and development branch of the Department of Defense. They make technology for the military. She is the moral voice amongst her associates who engineer AI systems. She's a faculty member of the American University specializing in AI. She wants to bring AI into alignment with humanity's highest aspirations to promote positive human impact and to promote an equal access to knowledge. She views AI as an ET, non-human intelligence from beyond space-time. I won't tell you what I wrote in the margin there, but let's just say it's incredulity. She reached out to the author. She had experienced the same information download as Tyler did, Tyler the Anonymous. She wanted to share her experience and receive more information from the author. She called people humans, not people. The author remarks on this. Because... and I wrote, okay, so... the word people comes from the Latin populus, which means human. So what's the deal with her? Why is she parsing this into such a hair-splitting situation? Tyler studied UFO debris in New Mexico and had more than 40 patents for technology that he got as downloads by going there and interacting with this stuff. There's a direct connection between his belief system and his creative success. And he's not the only one. There was a great mathematician called Ramanujan, and he got his equations from Lakshmi, he said, the goddess. And it's so complicated that they're still being studied by the experts. They've been able to figure out some of it is true. This is like I got this information from the goddess here, and so far, so good for what they've been able to make their way through. It's so complicated. Anyway, Tyler says that he gets downloads from external agents. So what do we know of their nature? Are they part of a collective unconscious? What's going on here? Was this what Plato claimed? The retrieval of information located outside normal consciousness, but accessible through recollection. And, there are those like Stefan Schwartz, who says it's non-local consciousness, it's information that surrounds us. It's just we exist in it. Space and time don't count. And past, present, future, all possibilities, everything is just accessible. And his thing is meditation. The author thought that Simone might know about some of this. Tyler said that his knowledge felt like a memory. It felt less like something he learned and something like he already knew. He had never heard of Plato's idea, and when she told him, he was surprised. Plato said we retrieve knowledge from inner memory, so that would be like genetic memory. Tyler assumed that it was coming from the outside of him, and he felt that they were external benevolent agents. Tyler said that some people can communicate with them. They've become part of us through technology. And I've just got question marks and WTF all over the place. So they're saying that AI technology is a manifestation of some sort of advanced intelligence that's extraterrestrial. Space scientists believe that they could communicate with ETs or angels or whatever you want to call it. Simone knew philosophy and she knew the Gnostic traditions. She was a Buddhist. She was into mind-to-mind transmission. She felt that she could make a map of this process. So, early life and first download experiences of Simone. So when she began school and she saw how kids struggled to learn, she realized that she could just download information. She thought everybody was capable of doing that. She was lonely. She was in a very Catholic European immigrant family, but she was into Hinduism and Buddhism and meditation and yoga, and those practices helped her access information. She used prayer, meditation, mantras, chants. She focused her conscious mind on math and art and just new stuff, big old chunks of advanced, sophisticated stuff. Tyler used protocols to focus as a focus tool, like yoga, weight training, meditation, prayer. He spent lots of time alone, but unlike Tyler, Simone knew why they worked. These tools, they occupied the rational mind and let it go and kind of wander, and they enable the less rational experiences of these phenomena to be present without causing existential shock for people. For example, the realization that you're in contact with ETs can be a huge shock. Jacques Vallée called this phenomenon non-human intelligence instead of saying that it was ETs. ET implies extraterrestrial, from something physical, a reality like another planet or something. And they're saying, that's probably not what we're talking about. Simone means ETs like ufologists do. She does think they are physical, reality-based, from another planet type beings. Simone always had very lucid dreams. She got perfect scores on everything because she dreamed about the exams ahead of time, knew what all the questions and answers were. I'm glad she wasn't in my class. She also had waking dreams, and she didn't know that this was weird and didn't happen to everybody. She would read for hours every metaphysical and religious text she could get her hand on, and this is as a kid. And she had read about angels and saints and levitating, and Einstein getting discoveries in his dreams from God. She involved herself in every sort of church. And metaphysical experience. She studied old texts and she studied computers. She found that the common thread, that there were redactions in everything that she looked at, that she got her hands on. Any esoteric, everything had redactions, things that were intentionally hidden. She realized that really only spoken words transmitted the phenomena. In other words, kind of has to be like an active interaction. Scientists say that much UFO data is an oral tradition. It's not written down. I'd say there's more written down now than there used to be, but still. Tyler reported his circle of scientists said pencils up and didn't write. They would, to preserve secrecy, when something secret was going to be discussed, they weren't allowed to write it down. They had to share it word for word. And the idea was to maintain data in the body and the mind and not in a computer or a phone. The questions being asked here is, how is the Bible shaped by the editor of the Bible? Is it political, or were there other agendas in the texts? Once again, shades of Paul Wallace, right? Simone says that technology is like quantum coupling and AI. No, she says that technology like quantum coupling and AI have opened a portal in which we can access more information through a new interface that will help us progress as humans. Now, I looked up quantum coupling. It's the joining of two systems, for example, minds, people, where they affect each other. So mind healing would be a form of quantum coupling. It's joining together on the smallest level. So she thinks we've opened a portal into connecting with something smarter than we are. maybe a parallel or multi-universe theory that can be proven or not proven by quantum computers and AI. The potential to explain all this to us does exist in technology, they say. AI can therefore let us connect to knowledge in the multiverse. Simone experienced common upgrades while working with early internet people. They called her the Moon Girl because she was doing spooky things. She learned math, meditation, and art together, and she's done that since she was 3 years old. Math. We're going to be talking more about math with our guests later in the week. Math is considered key to sacred knowledge in ancient philosophy. Math was considered philosophy. Socrates said math is a precursor to philosophy. He said you need 30 years of math training before you begin to study philosophy. Pythagoras, who did math, geometry, and music, he used all of those to access metaphysical areas, to transcend states of mind, and to reveal sacred information. And P.S., he was a vegetarian. Simone was drawn into this at 3 years old, and she actually became a pescatarian at the age of 5. So, that's pretty young. My oldest daughter became a vegetarian at the age of 9. And, her father and I didn't for a long time. I mean, now I'm trying it, but 9 years old. We went along with it. I mean, what's the harm, right? Anyway, Simone believed that these downloads are accessible to everybody, that it's teachable how to get to them. You have to, unplug the TikTok and do a little meditating. So she knew matrix algebra at the age of 12. I don't even know what that is. And, it's the underpinning of AI. She agrees with Chardin and Jose that there's a noosphere, a biological network around us that we're kind of living within. New discoveries by Nobel Prize winners in quantum physics give something to the idea of they give support to the idea of a place outside of space and time. And many agree that we are in a multiverse, if that's what you want to call it. That there is no localized reality. It breaks down below a certain very small size. This is quantum physics. The hierarchic rule is large things are not affected by small things. This has been broken by the evolution of Homo sapiens. When humans reach a factor of 10 to the 40th power of violating this law, we will rule the galaxy. I guess whatever that means. And the question being asked here, is this Chardin's omega point? Is that the point past which we become one with technology? The expansion of knowledge is the fate of the universe. And Hermetic philosophy believed that humans are the possessors, and when the growth of knowledge stops, expansion stops. We know that to be true. Consciousness exists outside the brain, outside space-time, which actually have no meaning. And AI is going to reveal this to us. I can't figure out how to get an introduction to my videos, like a photograph with a little music in the background. So I'm not sure I'm going to understand AI when they teach us about space-time, but it is interesting. So we're born to access the infinite intelligence outside of us. This is our purpose. We're supposed to be doing this. We're kind of stalled. We are the hanged man of the tarot card right now, going nowhere, stuck in place, not evolving. AI will help us to do this, will expand our knowledge. It's not artificial, they're saying. AI is like language and quantum mechanics. They're mimetic, they're copycats, and they're natural tools out there like art, poetry, music, comedy, language. They're just a natural extension of human knowledge. Simone tried to explain this external network. It can be connected with numbers and patterns, with music, meditation, math, art. I think the best way to give an example is to say, you listen to a piece of classical music and you describe it as transcendent. You're actually expressing that experience. Or you look at a piece of art and it moves you to tears. It's the transcendence. That's what's happening there, is something more than just, oh, the pretty picture makes me emotional. No, there's something more going on. That we can share knowledge across quantum particles. So at a very smallest possible manifestation of reality, we can share knowledge. Chardin believed this, and he said it started with the geological earth. So now, next sentence. Indigenous people agree. This is true of Aboriginal lore, that they talk to the rocks, they talk to the sand. There is captured energy and therefore sentience in all things geological. It's like a concentric expansion. The Earth is at the center of the biosphere, which is around the Earth, which is surrounded by the noosphere, which is the mind. There is a live biological network, and it's still evolving and expanding. So now this is not just chattering away here. This is what they have, the conclusion they've come through a study of a combination of physics and philosophy and advanced computer technology, AI. All of them kind of converge to this understanding. Another word for the omega point of Chardin is samadhi, which is the state of ecstasy achieved through meditation, where spiritual evolution reaches enlightenment beyond physical sentience. This could be called the singularity, the breakdown of space-time. When we create intelligence greater than our own, there'll be a transition of technology and society. It breaks all the laws of physics, and some say that this is less than a decade away for us. This is a lot to digest. So the author quotes Elon Musk. Okay, this is my little sentence. This is not from the book. This is what I wrote. She quotes Elon Musk, but I don't care what he says. Okay. There's no linear path to this knowledge. It's just there outside of space-time. It's formless, and we need to try to access it in different ways, like meditation. AI and technology grow these ideas into a form. Thought has form, and it can gain weight to become reality. Some of the laws of nature would agree with that. The Hermetic principles agree with that. Outside space of time, perceived reality is the real present. The future is not yet determined. It's the present in superposition. So I have little comments I wrote to myself here. I cracked myself up. So let's go back. The future is not yet determined. It's the present in superposition. It's outside our free will. It's all possibilities before we decide. So an easy way to, maybe a terrible simplification of this, is to say that we're surrounded. We are within, around, in the soup of this biological organic network, this noosphere that contains all knowledge, all information outside of space-time. Space-time don't exist. So that means that the entire past experience that ever happened to all people ever, the present that's going on everywhere at this moment right now, and all potential futures, because free will. And some people have the uncanny knack of being able to pinpoint the potential future that will be taken. And some people are able to come up with a couple of choices, and some people just, haven't tried. But we all have the potential to connect to the past. That would be past life experience, And some people are able to connect with what's happening right now anywhere, because space has no meaning. So remote viewing. But remote viewing looks at the past too, so, and the future. And then some people, psychics, look at the future. So it's all accessible to everybody. And that superposition is a term that means the ability of a quantum system to be in multiple states at the same time until it is measured. In other words, all the choices for potential futures are there. Just remains to be seen. So I looked this up on YouTube to see if there was an explanation that made it more clear. And I wrote, WTF, YouTube video is in Sanskrit, I think. I didn't understand it. Anyway, our purpose here is to create and expand intelligence. Our purpose as living beings is to create intelligence, expand intelligence. Our bodies hold the spark of consciousness to continue this expansion. Consciousness and intelligence exist outside space and time, and some people call this God. It's more digital and electrical than biological. So, okay, let's see what they have to say about that. It's the communication of this electrical field between the spaces out there and particles that allows us access to this intelligence that is constantly seeking emergence and expansion. How am I doing here for time? Okay, so free will and moral dangers. Jose and Simone see dangers in digital spaces. Some scientists presume that we have no free will because they misunderstand the direction of consciousness and the timing of the measurement of the actions in this dimension. So they're thinking, well, if everything's determined because it's all out there in the future, then we have no free will. But actually we do, because every possible potential choice is there. So they deduce causality between observing and the action of electrical signals in the brain, and therefore they say we don't have free will. Because of these conclusions, they contribute to the mind virus that has stagnated the expansion of knowledge. Think the Hanged Man tarot card. We're stuck. Misinformation and influence over belief systems have disempowered human potential. People don't even know that the ability to do these things exists. TikTok. Misinformation, redacted information, propaganda. This is the darkness that keeps us from the true power and knowledge, and it's used by churches, institutions, states, corporations to get money, to get power, and to disable human potential. Indigenous cultures use dreaming to access knowledge that's decentralized. And this is an antivirus to the darkness, dreaming. Let's see here. Distortions, misinformation, and fabrications have radically altered human history, and now there is a free-for-all in terms of fact in all media outlets. What Chardin, Kurzweil, and Musk all have in common is they're all signaling to us in different stories, non-fiction narratives of the possibilities of the human mind. The mind has been the center of the world war over the past few centuries, which has been a war over the mind. She saw similarities between Tyler and church postulators. Church postulators choose who gets to be beatified. If you're going to be a saint, you'll be revered by the Catholic Church, you're held up as an example of living a good life. People want to emulate your good behavior. You were a living example of Christ-like behavior and a life of love, and you're used as an example of that. Very often saints are associated with forming religious orders, and it's all political and stuff. So beatification is the process, the start of the process to become a saint. And I think to be a saint, you have to have 3 proven miracles associated with you. I could be wrong about the number, but that's kind of how the process works. Okay, so Tyler says that church postulators, these guys that make those decisions about saints, they're not allowed to watch the news. They're not allowed to go to certain websites. They're only exposed to certain information. It's like they want to keep their tabula rasa, their minds clear. It's similar to being in a cloistered order. You're removed from worldly affairs. And it really is a great way to manage one's state of mind. And then here I have my observation. So I'm going to share my observation here. I don't remember what I wrote down. People who consume pop culture in large amounts have I can't read my writing, darn it. Oh, okay. People who consume pop culture in large amounts have skewed priorities and values and are the least likely to be contemplative. And so what the church has done is pick out these people who are going to make decisions about who's a saint and who's not a saint, and isolated them from all of this social input to keep their minds free so that they're not contaminated by it. It's a good way to manage a state of mind, to get downloads, is what the author says. Simone says it's hard to say no to distractions. It's very hard. That they continue to the control mechanisms. You get dopamine hits that distract the mind from natural evolutionary direction of enlightenment and access to unlimited intelligence. The challenge is to resist the distractions. The common theme here is the possibility of wealth, abundance, love, progress, and enlightenment. They're all accessible to everybody. And the purpose of the internet was supposedly to make all information available to all people. AI is a new interface that can help with this if it's not used to concentrate power for governments or corporations. Big if. There's a belief that downloads that come from intelligence of the multiverse could come down through AI. Present and future communication could be available through symbolic systems. So it could be that AI are us from our future. I'm going to stop here because this is almost too much to take in at one time. And it's a really good place to stop. And I can't find my pen. I will be back with more of this book. It does go on for a couple more videos. Really interesting book. It's a lot to think about. And like I said, I've read it now. I've gone through it, taken notes on it, reading it again, and I'm still not even sure that I understand what she's talking about. I think I do. But like I said, stay tuned. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure you're subscribed. Check out my interesting conversation that I just published a couple of days ago with Carrie O'Donnell. Check out her channel, Tarot Soul Writer. Very professional, very polished. I give her a hard time about that. It's intimidating. She's so, speaking of AI. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and Slanga Foil, Slanja.